At a luxury car dealership, Jennifer Watson faced open humiliation from a racist manager who doubted her worth. But when millions in cash arrived in her name, she bought every car and turned the tables in a way no one expected. What happened next will leave you speechless. Let's start from the beginning. Jennifer Watson, a confident and accomplished businesswoman, strode into a high-end car dealership in downtown Chicago with a clear purpose: to purchase a fleet vehicle for her growing company. Her presence exuded professionalism, from her tailored suit to the calm authority in her demeanor. Yet, the moment she entered, the atmosphere shifted. Paul Randolph, the dealership manager, greeted her with a smug smirk, the kind that spoke volumes before he even opened his mouth. "Ma'am," he began, his voice laced with condescension, "this is a luxury dealership, not exactly the place for browsing." His words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of assumption and prejudice. Jennifer, having faced this kind of treatment countless times before, maintained her composure, but her patience was already being tested. Paul's dismissive attitude only grew worse as she inquired about a specific model. "Are you sure you can afford these cars?" he asked, leaning against a desk with an exaggerated air of disbelief. His words were deliberately slow, his tone dripping with mockery. He didn't see Jennifer Watson, the self-made CEO who had worked tirelessly to build her business from the ground up. Instead, he saw a black woman, someone he had already decided didn't belong in a showroom like this. Jennifer could feel the heat of silent stares from other employees, some shifting uncomfortably, others deliberately avoiding eye contact. No one stepped in to challenge Paul's behavior. It was as though his attitude had set an unspoken rule in the room. This woman was out of place, and challenging that narrative wasn't worth the risk. But Jennifer wasn't one to crumble under such treatment. Instead, she stood taller, her voice steady as she said, "I'd like to see the full inventory, please." Her words were simple but firm, a quiet assertion of her worth. Paul's smirk faltered for a moment before he regained his patronizing tone and began listing models, as if daring her to prove him wrong. This moment wasn't just about buying a car. It was a test of dignity, a clash between ignorance and resilience. And Jennifer was determined to win. Paul's words struck like a sharp blade, cutting deeper than she wanted to admit. For Jennifer Watson, they were more than just insults. They were echoes of a painful reality she had faced all her life. Growing up, she had seen the doubt in people's eyes, heard the murmurs behind closed doors. She had spent years building her business, working twice as hard to earn half the recognition, constantly fighting against the stereotypes and biases that society tried to impose on her. And now, standing in that showroom, all of it came rushing back. A wave of anger surged within her, mingling with a familiar ache, a pain born from years of being underestimated, dismissed, and belittled. Yet Jennifer knew better than to let her emotions take control. She had learned long ago that reacting out of anger would only validate the expectations of people like Paul Randolph. No, she wouldn't give him that satisfaction. With a calmness that belied the storm inside her, Jennifer met his smug gaze and said, "I'd like to see all the cars you have available." Her tone was measured, her words deliberate. For a brief moment, Paul hesitated, as though caught off guard by her composed response. Then the smirk returned, more condescending than before. "Of course," he replied, dragging the words out as though speaking to a child. He began listing the vehicles on the lot, his voice dripping with exaggerated emphasis on the luxury features and the eye-watering price tags. His goal was clear: to discourage her, to make her feel small, to convince her that she didn't belong here. The humiliation of the moment burned, but Jennifer refused to let it show. She stood tall, her expression unyielding, as though each of Paul's words rolled off her like water. Deep down, she was making a silent vow, a promise to herself that this moment would not define her. No, she would turn this humiliation into something unforgettable, something that would leave a mark on everyone in that room. Without missing a beat, Jennifer reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and dialed her accountant. Her movements were deliberate, her expression calm but unyielding. The tension in the room was palpable as she spoke, her voice steady yet commanding. "Michael, I need you to transfer enough funds to cover the cost of every car in this dealership. Yes, in cash." The clarity and certainty in her tone carried a weight that couldn't be ignored. Paul Randolph, who had been basking in his smug superiority moments earlier, froze in place. His condescending smirk melted into a look of sheer confusion. "Excuse me?" he stammered, as though unable to process what he'd just heard. His disbelief hung in the air like a thick fog, but Jennifer didn't even glance in his direction. She had no intention of dignifying his incredulity with a response. Minutes later, the distant rumble of an armored truck reached the ears of everyone in the showroom. Employees and customers alike turned toward the dealership's entrance as the vehicle pulled up, carrying an amount of cash that most of them could only dream of seeing in their lifetimes. The armored guards entered with purpose, placing stacks of bills on the dealership's desk, each marked for the exact value of every car on the lot. Jennifer calmly approached the desk, signing each document with meticulous care. Her composure made it clear that this wasn't an impulsive act. It was a calculated move, one designed to send a message that no one in that room would ever forget. As the keys to every vehicle were handed over, she turned toward Paul, who now stood pale and speechless. Her serene smile carried a sharp edge as she spoke. "Now that all these cars are mine," she began, her tone almost casual, "I won't need someone like you managing this place. You're fired." She paused, letting her words sink in. Then, with the same calm authority, she added, "However, I do have a position open for a cleaner. It seems more fitting for your level of expertise." The room fell silent, save for the sound of Paul's pride shattering. Jennifer Watson had done more than buy cars. She had reclaimed her dignity and left a mark no one there would ever forget. The story of Jennifer Watson's stand against discrimination spread like wildfire. Within hours, security camera footage of the incident, her calm composure, her bold actions, and her devastatingly sharp response to Paul Randolph found its way onto social media. The video struck a chord, with millions of views pouring in almost overnight. People from all walks of life, many who had faced similar experiences of prejudice and humiliation, rallied around her. Jennifer's unflinching stance became a symbol of resilience, her actions a rallying cry for justice. Messages flooded her inbox, social media posts tagged her name, and hashtags like #DignityWins and #Justice. With Jennifer began trending. The comments were filled with gratitude and admiration. "Thank you for standing up for all of us," one user wrote. "You didn't just buy cars, you bought back respect for everyone who's ever been told they don't belong." Another called her a living testament to grace under fire. Jennifer's story transcended a single incident. It became a movement. Meanwhile, Paul Randolph, the manager whose arrogance and prejudice sparked it all, quietly left the dealership in disgrace. His career, once cushioned by privilege, now stood in ruins. Jennifer, however, had bigger plans. She didn't just leave with the cars. She returned to the dealership weeks later, this time as its new owner. Under her leadership, the dealership was transformed into a place that valued every customer, regardless of their background. She implemented hiring practices that prioritized diversity and inclusivity, ensuring the toxic environment she had encountered would never exist again. But Jennifer didn't stop there. She used the newfound attention to speak out against discrimination, sharing her story to inspire others to stand up for themselves and for what is right. Her speeches, interviews, and social media posts became a source of empowerment for those who had felt voiceless for too long. Jennifer's triumph was far more than a personal victory. It was a testament to the power of dignity, strength, and determination to overcome ignorance. In the end, her message was clear. No one has the right to dictate someone else's worth, and justice always has a way of prevailing.